Histological technique, tissue processing. Since most of the tissue factors employed in aqueous solution, the water has to be read in order to embed tissue in paraffin wax. This is generally achieved by immersing in increasing strength of alcohol and is known as rehydration. Since alcohol and wax are not visible, the alcohol must be replaced by a wax solvent. And since majority of the wax solvent have the effects of raising refractive index of the tissue, which makes them appear clear. This stage is known as clearing. Finally, there is an impregnation of tissue with wax, and its testing in solid black. Okay, tissue processes. Most of the tissue processes is employed in aqueous solution. The water has to be removed in order to embed tissue in paraffin mix. This is generally achieved by immersion in increasing strength of ethyl alcohol and is known as dehydration. Since alcohol and wax are not visible, the alcohol must be replaced by a wax solvent, and since majority of the wax solvents have the effect of raising impregnation of tissue, which makes them appear clear. Okay, this stage has been known as clearing. Finally, there is impregnation of tissue with wax, and its testing in solid black. Okay, routine paraffin gas can be found following. Okay, fixation, dehydration, clearing, impregnation, embedding. Fixation, dehydration, clearing, impregnation, embedding. Fixation, dehydration, clearing, impregnation. Fiction. This is the process by which the constituents of the cell are fixed in a physical and partly in a chemical cell, so that they withstand the subsequent treatment with variant reagents with a minimum loss of RTG. This is achieved by exposing the tissue to chemical component called fixative. Fixation is the process by which the constituent cells are fixed in a physical and then partly in a chemical, so that they withstand the subsequent treatment with various reagents with minimum loss of RTG. This is achieved by exposing tissue to chemical component called fixative. Properties of hydrophysis: prevents autolysis and bacterial decomposition. Preserve the tissue in their natural state and fix all the components. You can make the cellular components insoluble to reagents used in the tissue processing. Properties of hydrophysis: prevent autolysis and bacterial decomposition. Preserve the tissue in their natural state and fix all the components. Make the cellular components insoluble to reagents used in tissue processing. Okay, preserve tissue volume. Okay, avoid excessive hardening of tissue. Allows enhanced staining of tissue. Okay, should not be very expensive. Should be non-toxic and non-allergic for uses. Okay, preserves tissue volume. Okay, avoid excessive hardening of the tissue. Allows enhanced staining of tissue. Okay, should not be very expensive. Should be non-toxic and non-allergic for uses. Okay, the various use for use are as follows. Okay, formaldehyde, glutathione, mercury oxide, potassium dichromate, chromic acid, and picric acid. Okay. So here user as follows: formaldehyde, glutathione, mercury oxide, potassium dichromate, chromic acid, picric acid. Formaldehyde is in form 10% for is most commonly used as fixative. 10% formaldehyde is consisted of formaldehyde 40 10 ml. Okay, water 90 ml. Formaldehyde is in the form of 10% formaldehyde used commonly used as fixative. 10% formaldehyde consisted of formaldehyde. 40% 10 ml of water 90 ml. Formaldehyde react with proteins and group to gross-linked molecules to give rise to an insoluble end product. It penetrates the tissue but it is relatively slow. Formaldehyde react with proteins and products to cross-link molecules to give rise to an insoluble end product. It penetrates the tissue but it is relatively slow. Dehydration: tissues are dehydrated by using increasing strength of alcohol, 50%, 90%, 90%. The duration for which tissue are kept in alcohol depends on the size of tissue, use and type of tissue. Okay, dehydration: tissues are dehydrated by the using the increasing strength of alcohol, 70%, 90%, 100%. The dehydration for which the tissue are kept depends on the size of the tissue, aggressive use and type of tissue. Okay. The various dehydration agents are used for ethanol, methanol, isopropyl alcohol, acetone. Okay. Ethanol, methanol, isopropyl alcohol, acetone. Okay. Ethanol is a clear, colorless, flammable liquid. Okay. It is hydrophobic, okay, and therefore miscible with water and many organic solvents. So it's clear, colorless, flammable liquid. Okay. It is hydrophobic and therefore miscible with water and many organic solvents. Okay. 70% and 100% alcohol, acetone, xylene, to xylene, water path, similar tissue process. Okay. 70, 90, 100, acetone, xylene, water path. Okay. Cleaning during dehydration, water is in tissue has to be by alcohol. Okay, the next step alcohol should be replaced by paraffin wax. Okay, and paraffin wax is not alcohol soluble. Alcohol is replaced with a substance which is miscible with incrementing and embedding medium. Okay, paraffin wax. When most of the dehydration is replaced by this solvent, the tissue is transferable. Okay, is transferable. Hence, the term clearing various agents are as follows: xylene, chloroform, toluene, methyl benzoate, okay, methyl medicine, okay, citrus or crude oil. Okay. Okay, clearing. During dehydration, water in tissue has to be replaced by alcohol. Okay. The next step, alcohol should be replaced by paraffin wax. Okay. As a paraffin wax is not alcohol soluble, alcohol is a substance which is miscible with impregnated embedding medium. Okay, paraffin wax. And most of the dehydrating agent has been replaced by the solvent. The tissue has been transferred. Hence, the term cleaning. Okay. Various cleaning and as follows: xylene, chloroform, toluene, styrene, chloroform, toluene, okay, methyl benzoate, and methyl benzoate. Methyl benzoate, methyl malicyl, okay, citrus product. Xylene is the most common cleaning. Okay, then it is comes cleanation, impregnation. In infiltration, embedding must we fill all the spaces with the tissue to support the cellular components during microdosing. Density of the hardware should be approached so that contrast of the coordination over component. Low melting point paraffin wax is the most commonly used for impregnation, whereas a melting point paraffin is for embedding impregnation. Our infiltration and embedding media must fill all the spaces within the tissue to support cellular components. Okay. During density, the harder tissue should be approached so that so that the density should so that densest tissue component low paraffin melting point is most used for impregnation, whereas high melting but okay. The embedding slash working this it is the tissue is finally transported to a molten field with molten paraffin wax, inverting tissue to free all the surfaces of wire above the oriented and ending cutting surface so that it faces the base of the mold. Okay, the blocks are then immediately cooled. Okay, embedding blocking, that is tissue is finally transferred to the mold field. The tissue is finally transferred to the mold filled with molten paraffin wax. Okay, okay, invert tissue to free all the surface of the air bubbles and orienting and cutting surface so the mold. Okay, the blocks are then immediately cooled. Okay, requirements of embedding are as follows. Okay, paraffin is set at 2 to 4 degree about melting point. Cool plate to be replaced cool plate to rapidly cool the wax. Embedding mold in which to embed the tissue. Okay, base mold. Okay, requirements for embedding are as follows. Okay, paraffin wax held at 2 4 to 4 degree about melting point. Okay, cold plate to rapidly cool the plate. Embedding mold in which to embed the tissue on base mold. Okay, there are four main mode system and necessary embedding protocols. Okay, paper boards, Lego hearts, PCs. Okay, disposable plastic mode and system using embedding ring. Okay, or cassette base which becomes an integral part of the block. Serve as the block serve as the black or black order in the microdome. Phone microdome mold system necessary embedding mode. Paper board, look hearts, PCs. Okay, disposable plastic modes and systems using embedding ring. Okay, or cascade base. Okay, which become an integral part of the black and serves as the black holders in microdome. These represent the traditional blocking okay, metal. Okay, simple in construction image. Okay, they consist of two L-shaped pieces of metal, usually brass. Okay, okay, by adjusting the elbows to the relative shape and size can be modified according to the size and number of tissue. Okay, when the max is set, the elbows are easily removed. Okay, and are readily for use for further use. Okay, liquid helical, these blocks represent the traditional blocking okay, metal simple in construction use and construction use. They consist of a two L-shaped pieces of metal, usually brass. Okay, by adjusting the edge blocks, the relative shape and size of modified according to the size tissue. Okay, when the wax is set. Okay, the L blocks are easily removed and are ready for further use. Okay, embedded rings facility. Here the embedding is performed in a specifically made base mold. The embedding is placed over the mold filled with wax and the tissue embedded molten wax after solidification of wax. It is removed after complete with the cassette. Okay, embedding ring facility. Here the embedding is performed in a specially made base mold. Okay, the embedding is placed over the mold filled with wax and the tissue embedded molten wax. Okay, after solidification of wax. Okay, which is removed compared with the cassette. Okay, the cassette fits into purpose made microdome. The cassette fits into purpose made microdome clamp. Okay, next is microtomy. Okay, once the tissue have been embedded, there must be uh, cut into section. Okay, microtomy is the means by which the tissue can be sectioned attached to a surface so that examination by microscopy can take place. Okay, microtomy. Okay, once the tissue has been embedded, they must be this cut. So microtomy is the means by which the tissue can be sectioned and attached to the surface so microscope can take place. Microtomes are precision instruments designed for cutting thin sections of tissues. They enough to enable examination under a microscope. Okay. For routine histological examination, tissue sections are cut at a thickness of 3 to 4 micrometer. Once the sections are cut, okay, they are floated on a warm water bath that helps to remove forging. Microtomy are precision instruments designed for cutting thin section of tissue. Okay, they enough to enable examination under microscope. For routine histological examination, now tissue section are thickness of 3 to 4 micrometer. Once sections are cut, they are floated on a warm water bath. To remove forge, there are various types of microtomes, namely rocking microtome, rotatory microtome, base sledge microtome, sliding microtome, freezing microtome, rocking microtome, rotatory microtome, rocking microtome, rotatory microtome, okay, stay base sledge microtome, rocking microtome, rotatory microtome, base sledge microtome, sliding microtome, freezing microtome, knives. Okay, for production, thick section are sharp, bleeding free, cutting knife is necessary. This could be disposable thick metal or non-disposable resembling a razor blade. Okay, the cutting edge is formed by the convergence of two blades. The cutting faces or levels. The cutting edge of the knife should be straight. The production of the five straight edge depends on the hardness of the steel used and angles of levels, which meet to form the edge. Okay, the microdome knives are made of steel and the hardness varies from 450 to 800 kHn. Okay, the facet oval range 1835 degrees. Okay, the production of the sharp edge may be achieved by manual or automatic sharpening procedure. Okay, in each case, two stages are okay. Okay, abrasive grinding of the facet, referring honest, followed by polishing. Okay, with stopping. Okay, microdose for production is thin section sharp, free cutting. If is necessary, they could be disposable, thick metal or non-disposable, resembling a razor available. The cutting edge is formed by the conversion of two planes. Okay, the cutting facet of the levels. The cutting edge of the knife should be straight. Okay, the production of the fine straight edge depends on the hardness of the steel used because of the levels which meet to form the edge. Okay, the microdome knives are made of steel and the hardness varies from 70 to 800 kHn. The facet will range from 18 to 30 degrees. The production of the sharp angle may be achieved by manual or automatic sharpening procedure. In each case, the total stages are involved. Okay, abrasive grinding of the facet referred as honing, followed by polishing the reverse stop. Knives are classified according to their shape: wedge, plano, concave, deep profile, biconcave. Okay, knives can be classified according to their shape. Okay, wedge, plano, concave, deep profile, biconcave. Okay, deep profile two वगैरह. Okay. Disposable knives. Okay, disposable knives have been made possible to produce good quality thin section. Okay, they are cheaper than the conventional steel okay, plates. Okay, has ease of section production, reliability of contrast, sharp edge, no attendant cost of sharpening machine. The plates are held in a special holder which is clamped to the micro. Disposable knives has been made easy possible to produce good quality thin section. They are cheaper than conventional steel plates. Has ease of section production, reliability of contrast, sharp edge. Okay, no attendant cost of sharpening machine. Sharpening machine the blade are in special holder which is complete to micro staining. Usage hematoxin. It is extracted from local wood of the tree hematoxin. Oxidation of this extract substance hematin which forms the stain. Oxidation may be achieved by either chemical material. The advantage of the chemical material is that stain can be used as soon as possible. It stains nuclear fiber. It is extracted from the logwood of the tree. Hematoxin can comprehend oxidation of this extract produces a colored substance. Hematin which forms the stain. Oxidation may be achieved by either natural or chemical method. The advantage of chemical material is that the stain can be used as soon as it stains nuclear fiber. Eosin. It is a counter stain that is used along with hematoxin. Iosine xanthine diaco. It is tetrachromofluoromine. Okay, it is available in aqueous or alkali form. Okay, aqueous solution is 1% solution with crystals of thymol to inhibit growth of molecular eosin. It is the counter stain used along with the hematoxin. Iosine is xanthine that is tetrachromofluorine. It is available in aqueous or alcoholic form. Okay, aqueous with a 1% solution with crystals of thymol to inhibit growth of mold. Alcohol eosin is absorbed as 0.5% solution in alcohol. Okay, hematoxin and eosin stains the nucleus blue, black. Okay, cytoplasm wearing shades of pink, muscles deep pink. Okay, RBC set. Okay, use okay. That is the counter stain used along with hematoxin, xanthine dioxide, tetrabromophlouromycin. It is available in aqueous or alcoholic form. Okay, aqueous solution is used solution with crystals of thymol to enable growth of alcohol. Using upload as pond by solution in alcohol. Hematoxin nucleus blue black. Tolerance very shades of pink. Muscle deep pink. RBC set. Solution section adhesive albumin gelatin starch. Okay. Section adhesive albumin gelatin starch. Okay. Thickness of 3 to 4 micrometers. Mounting sections are mounted under the cover slip to maintain the high refractive index necessary for critical microscopy and to protect the sections during storage. Mounting sections are under micro cover slip to maintain the high refractive index necessary for critical and to protect the section during storage. Types: aqueous mounting media, glycerin jelly, apparatus medium. Okay, aqueous mounting media, glycerin jelly, apparatus medium. Okay, resinous medium. Okay, Canada balsam, Denver balsam. Okay, resinous medium mounting media, Canada balsam, synthetic resin. Okay, Kirkpatrick and lantern scale. Diethylene, polystyrene, synthetic. Okay. Types of aqueous mounting media, glycerin jelly, apparatus medium. Resinous mounting media, Canada balsam, Denver balsam. Synthetic resin, Kirkpatrick and lantern PX. Diethyl polystyrene xylene. Composition: dystyrene 8 to 10 grams, dibutyl benzene 5 ml, xylene 35 ml. Composition: dystyrene 8 to 10 grams, dystyrene 8 to 10 grams. Dibutyl benzene 5 ml. Xylene 5 ml, xylene 35 ml. Dystyrene 5 to 10 grams. Dibutyl benzene 5 to 10 grams. Xylene 35 ml. Okay.